My name is Chris. I'm a retired medical specialist of 40 years experience, and I'm talking today about a very serious matter that we haven't discussed previously. Over the years I've treated many Indigenous people and visited their settlements on many occasions. I should warn that I'll be mentioning the names of deceased Indigenous people in this video. The thumbnail to this video has an illustration of a king plate. This is a plate worn by Indigenous people. The one in the thumbnail was worn by King Billy of the Bajara people who lived in the district of Charleville. This is exactly like the plate he wore, but it's not the same one. I discuss King Billy in detail in This Must Not Happen Again, which is the book on the masthead of this site. King Billy's medical history is discussed in detail in that book. King plates were awarded to Indigenous people who were described by the colonial settlers as kings. But this was a category of person that did not previously exist. The king plates were made of brass or silver, and they were inscribed with native animals and the name of the person to whom it was awarded. This conveyed a special authority upon the elder, which was recognised by the colonial authorities. The breastplates are also known as gorgets, and they derived from the French. The word means breastplate or armorial breastplate, and is a remnant of the armour that was worn in the Middle Ages. Eventually English officers started to wear these breastplates, and on them were inscribed their rank. They are tied at the back with a small chain. They were brought to Australia by Marines who were in Australia as part of the New South Wales Corps to guard convicts. These plates were awarded to Indigenous people for reasons we are not sure, but they were highly respected by the locals, and apparently the Indigenous people who wore them were very proud and passed them down to their descendants. But really we can regard them as a remnant of colonial oppression from a bygone era. The influence and power of these elders is not to be underestimated. They held a special knowledge that enabled Indigenous people to forage on the land. Without this knowledge, Indigenous people could not survive in a landscape where no one else on the planet could have survived. As well as that, they knew all the cultural practices of the tribe and all the times of interaction with other tribes and how this was done. This was the knowledge that gave them this special power. Then something was to happen which destroyed all of this. In the 1920s, the Indigenous people, Pitjantjatjara, who lived in the Western Desert, had to migrate out because of a severe drought. The story of what happened then is narrated by Naganynya, who was a Pitjantjatjara woman. She describes in graphic detail what happened. When the Indigenous people met the white people, whom they had not previously had any experience, they were obviously starving because there had been a severe drought in the western part of the desert. So the colonial authorities fed and clothed them. It was at that time they were exposed to a poison that was not only to destroy their culture, but was to continue to destroy them today. This poison, as Naganynya describes it, was not alcohol, was not tobacco, was not illicit drugs, was not even money, it was sugar. Once mothers were able to feed their children with high-calorie food, and the children were eating sweets, lollies, sugar, soft drink, cakes, they no longer needed to forage in the desert. And the special knowledge and power that was conveyed on elders disappeared. This poison had effectively destroyed their cultural connection with the land and made those elders unnecessary. Their king plates ended up rusting in museums, and the National Museum of Australia has a very large collection of them. This poison continues to destroy these people today, long after Naganyinnya is deceased over 100 years ago. It poisons their blood, it makes them overweight, and it gives them a condition called sugar diabetes. This is destroying these people more than anything else that they've been exposed to, and it continues to destroy them and their culture, as Naganyinnya predicted, today.